In this video, we're going to show how to import data into views so that we can eventually make a bar graph, which will be in the video following this one. In order to illustrate this point, we're going to work one of the exercises from your statistics book, the basic practice of statistics. In particular, we are going to work on problem 1.26. The problem asks us to take the data shown in the table here and then plot a bar graph for the Facebook visitors as a function of their age distribution. What we're going to need to do is put this into a file that Views can read and then use that data to plot. What we'll do then is we will use Excel to create a data table, save that as a .csv or comma-separated variable file, which is a file type that Views can read, and then import that, and that will constitute this particular video. Alright, so we will take the Facebook visitor data and put it into Excel. I'm going to bring up Excel now. In the Excel file, which I've not saved yet, I've created two columns, one titled age group, which is going to give us the titles of the different bars eventually in the chart that we're going to make. And so under that, I've given the titles that we need. In the second column, I have the Facebook visitors, and I've written down just the percentages for each one of these age groups. So this table looks like this table here. Importantly, I have not kept the percentage signs that we see in the table in the book, instead just giving the raw numbers here, and we will indicate that they are percentages once we make the bar chart. Now that I have this data, what I need to do is save it in a file format that Views can recognize. And so what I'm going to do next is bring up my file navigator, and with this navigator up, I'm going to go ahead and save my Excel table in a format that Views can read. For this, I'll go to File, Save As. We're going to have to use Save As because we cannot use the default Excel file format. Browse, and then I'll just, I guess, make you watch as I go to the file that I want. Or actually, I'll just navigate there. The important part is to make sure that I change the Save As type to be .csv. I could do that by clicking and going down the menu till I find CSV. There's many instances of CSV, not only this, but farther down we find another. Any of these will be fine. Just make sure that when it says Save As Type, it says CSV next to it. Then we'll give this a name. How about problem 1.26. Save. It's going to ask us, are we sure that we want to have a .csv because we lose some of the features that are present in Excel? I'm going to say yes, because that's what we need. You'll see that has now appeared to the left in my file navigator. And so we are ready to use Views in order to import this data so that we can plot it as a bar chart. Now I'm going to bring up Views. With Views open, the simplest way to import data is to use the blue disk in the buttons at the top. Clicking on this button will open a dialog that allows us to import data. What I want to do once I've opened this window is to use the Browse feature to locate the data that I've just. You'll note that I have several different bits of information down here because I've used Views before on my computer, and so it's actually looking at the last little bit of data that I've used on this computer. We'll ignore that for now and just say Browse. Then we navigate to the data that we've just saved. I have it in the Google Drive, my Penn State stuff, teaching, this course. First time I've taught it. I'm making a video, didn't bother to name this file. Here is the CSV that we have just saved. To import the data, I simply just double click. Now we can see that the file path is pointing at the CSV that we were interested in. And once I've selected that, it will also give us a quick reading of what that the data looks like. Here we're seeing the table. It's not showing us all the values because there's not enough room, so we can scroll down to see the rest of the table. I usually trust views to do a good job, so I don't examine this too much. There are, of course, much more information about how to import data, but as long as we have followed what I said in terms of using titles on top of the columns and then the data of interest underneath, we'll be fine. So then we'll just say import. Once we've imported, we can close this window just using the X in the top. Now what we'll find is that the data appears in the data view window. Whereas before we didn't have anything under dataset, now we have problem 1.6.csv. And so it's telling us that's where it's reading the data. I can scroll up and down again to see what I have. It's telling me that I have one column named age group with 4 entries inside of it, and that the type of data is text. That would be our names for the columns. The next is that we have a column titled Facebook visitors. It has also 4 data points inside of it, and you can see it brought up a pop-up where it's trying to show me how it thinks it might be plotted as a line graph, which we are not going to do. And then it's telling me it's a 1D data type, meaning that we don't have a matrix or something like that where we're trying to represent multidimensional data. All right, at this point, we are now ready to create a bar chart because we have data that we can point the bar chart maker to, and that will be in our next video. For this video, all we've seen is that we can create data, save it as a CSV, and then import it into views so that we can begin to manipulate it.